When Donald Trump was elected the President of the United States on November 5th, you can see what happened after for the next few weeks. We pretty much had a moonshot to the upside as the stock market got really excited on a couple key things. For the stock market, the excitement was lower taxes and less regulation for businesses so they can operate at more profitability and be more competitive on the global stage. But since then, the focus after Inauguration Day has really shifted towards some of the more perceived as negative things with a Trump administration, which is the big old T word, aka tariffs. Tariffs create a lot of uncertainty as they disrupt the exchange of goods throughout the world. And whether you like the idea of tariffs or dislike them, I'm going to talk about why tomorrow we could have some massive sell-offs in markets as we get more details about Trump's tariffs going on April 2nd. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at a technical, fundamental, and sentiment breakdown of the indices, gold, the dollar, and much more. All I ask is if you enjoy my videos, hit the thumbs up button as we get started. And just a quick PSA, today we are launching our biggest discount price of the year for the EdgeFinder. We are celebrating 3 years since launching the product, and with this sale event, we're doing our lowest price all year long, which is 40% off the EdgeFinder. You can find out more information by using the link and promo code in the description down below, and if you chat with us directly, we'll offer an extra discount for people who do so today. Send us a direct message using the first link in the description and get your copy of the EdgeFinder at the lowest price all year long. So starting with the technical basis, why is tomorrow's price action so key to this market? Well, it's been pretty clear. We've been in a pretty sharp sell-off. In fact, it's one of the fastest, I think it was like the top 5 fastest sell-offs in market history since like, I don't know, the 1980s or something, longer than that. The stock market sold off really aggressively here. It did have a bit of a bounce and then really quickly in the last few days recaptured those lows, showing sellers are still very strong here. And that makes a lot of sense because the uncertainty event is still ahead of us. What I mean by that is the April 2nd date is when we are expecting to hear more clarification in regards to the tariff event. People are expecting some information as to whether or not these tariffs, how aggressive basically are they? Are they all encompassing? Are they large and, sweep across everybody? Or are there some exceptions? And that difference will make a huge movement very likely in tomorrow's trading action. I mean, just look at the put to call ratio, which shows you that investors, traders, etc. on the options market are pricing in huge amounts of movements, paying massive premium for puts at this time to protect their portfolios. Now, what you can generally see in market history is that when this put to call ratio gets very, very extreme, people fear the worst and oftentimes you do get a sharp bounce. So is there a possibility that this peak fear, this pessimism across the board could finalize, reach the apex tomorrow during the April 2nd event? I think it's very possible. When we look at price action, we can see there was a massive flush, a rebound, and now the follow-through move. And like I said, the event is still ahead of us. So with 1 day to go to this April 2nd deadline or doomsday or liberation day, depending on who you ask, the question now becomes, is this going to be the last kind of ditch sell-off before we rebound? And what could cause that rebound? Well, let's talk about the positive scenarios that could come out of a big, scary deadline day like this. Well, let's just assume for a second, and again, we're going to do some hypotheticals because we don't know what Trump is going to say, but we can make an educated guess as to what trade setups could arise based on what he says. If you see something very positive tomorrow, what would that be? What would a positive outlook for the stock market look like? And by the way, when I say positive for the stock market, this could also potentially be a bearish catalyst for gold, which thrives on all this uncertainty. Let's jump in. So the positive scenario would be if Trump in his announcement of the tariffs are less than feared, which I think is actually the likely scenario. I think the market is pricing in the worst case scenario. We've seen bonds up, gold up, dollar down. You've seen stocks down. Everybody seems poised for a big sell-off and a big fear event. And when everybody gets on one side of the boat, I actually think that's the least likely scenarios that we get the absolute worst case scenario with Trump's tariffs. So that's why I think there's a strong case to be made that we actually could bottom out tomorrow. But here's some of the things that we would need to see. We would need to see Trump's tariffs are not all encompassing, sweeping, and without any sort of exemptions. We would need to see exemptions do exist, that perhaps the tariffs are a little bit more targeted and very specific, and that negotiations are still open. These are the things we would want to see for a stock market rebound. Now let's get negative for a second. What would be the bad case scenario? Well, the bears, what they've been expecting or fearing the worst about would be that tariffs are going to be broad swept and that Trump is going to try and make a huge stand and really stick it to trade partners that he doesn't like the way things are, right? So if that is the case, yeah, if there's some very broad swept, higher than expected tariffs, the market could continue to sell off. And I think the price action signals that we want to look for, whether bullish or bearish, we can basically isolate to these two key levels that we are currently trading at. Right now, we can actually mark this level as support. As you can actually see, we had a huge bounce back here in yesterday's trading action. So if you're a bear on the NASDAQ, the S&P, etc., here's what we want to see. You want to see a breakout through those lows and a confident close below intraday spikes that happened yesterday. So if you get on tomorrow's news some kind of big closure below that previous low, if you get a candle like this, then I do think that that probably confirms that this is a lower high and that we are officially going to continue the downward sell-off. It's very much coming down to the wire tomorrow, because the other scenario could, of course, be if you get some positive news in the form of less than expected tariff sweeping things. Like I said, what we just discussed, what we'd be looking for on a technical basis, I think the bulls have their work cut out for them. You might get a pop, but I wouldn't really trust it unless we actually truly see a break above this key level of structure at the 20,400 level, which is right around here. So if we can get this level to take back control, right? If the sellers can the buyers can recapture lost ground right around here at that 20,400 on the NASDAQ, that could be a sign that the bottom may in fact be in and that the worst is now behind us. Now, I'll give you my perspective because I do make this point in my videos. I like to be actionable in my videos, meaning I like to tell you straight up what I'm doing in the markets, whether I'm right or wrong, because I find it really frustrating when you watch YouTubers that don't actually tell you about their current positions. So here it is. All of my current open positions. What I've got here is a whole bunch of technology stocks. So on a longer term basis, I'm buying these as position trades, dollar cost averaging trades. I'm not long the NASDAQ with a tight stop. These are positions that I'm just holding as position trades. I'm long Tesla, Google, Amazon, PayPal, Meta, Airbnb, Nvidia, CRM, Fortinet, Home Depot, Intuitive Surgical, Uber, and I have a silver long position and an IGV. These two right here are active trades for me. IGV is a sector ETF which tracks many software companies, and I think that it's oversold on the weekly chart. We hit a really key long-term level of support, and this is a pretty good size position for my portfolio. If we take out the lows, I'm going to stop out of this idea. And as far as my silver position, many of you guys have been keeping up with the channel know already that I went long on silver over here, trailed my stop just below this structure low, and if we do break that area, I'm going to take profits on the move. If tomorrow we can take out those highs, I'm going to look to trail my stop further into profit. Let's talk now about gold here as well, because gold has been on a ripper to the upside, and I want to talk a little bit about this because, again, I feel like a broken record, and I discussed this on my live stream today, but many traders are still trying to short gold aggressively. Take a look at the put to call ratio, and we've actually selected for gold here. What's interesting is you can actually see the put to call ratio. There's still very high put demand, people betting against the move in gold, and they've been doing that for a while, which has obviously been a very losing trade, right? So the crowd sentiment has been bearish on gold here persistently, which has been a really tough trade to time. So what can you do in this situation? Well, the answer for me is nothing. I'm bullish on gold, but waiting for a pullback. I've been saying this every day on my videos and will continue to say it. I'm long silver, so if metals keep running, then awesome. But I do think I have to wait for a pullback constructively before looking for long side opportunities on gold. If I was to get long gold, again, I would need EdgeFinder confirmation first and foremost that the idea is a bullish setup on the top setups algorithms. By the way, we did add some new features here, but gold is currently a +8 score on the EdgeFinder, so it is quite bullish. So I'm looking for entries on gold, but I've got to wait for a pullback and check that the EdgeFinder still got a bullish reading at the time of executing the position. I'm watching the 3,045 level as well as the 3,000 on the dot mark for possible trade ideas, and also really like if we get a larger pullback, a bigger term pullback, a move back down to this 2950 area of support. The dollar index is a little bit mixed here today off of some of the data that we saw this morning. Let's check it out. out. Job openings continued their downward trend here with just a slightly lower than expected job openings report here this morning. We had 7.69 million jobs forecasted to be open. Instead, we got 7.57. So just a contraction slightly in the labor data here this morning. This morning, we also got the manufacturing PMI data point, which is a really important one for measuring forward-looking indicators of how the manufacturing component of our economy is looking. Surveyed respondents basically came in saying they see more contraction than expected, a reading of 49 compared to a reading expected 49.5. So some softness here in the dollar is something to pay attention to, but I do think that you're going to need to see some soft jobs data on NFP to really get the dollar index to break lower if you're a bear, right? NFP this Friday will be huge, but so will tariff news tomorrow. If you get something that is really, unfavorable to the U.S. out of the Trump tariff concept, the dollar index could go lower, and if there's some perceived positive things, it could actually buoy the dollar higher. But a lot of charts today, you'll notice on your own screen, are waiting. It just seems like they're not doing anything today. It's kind of a limbo period, eye of the storm, if you will, before the big stuff tomorrow. And I actually took a position on the dollar here today by going long Kiwi against the US dollar. This was a position that I shared inside of our Discord VIP group, which, by the way, the Discord group is also 40% off right now. If you have any questions or concerns about the Discord, if you want to figure out more information about it, the information can be found in the description down below, and there's a promo code there for you as well. And part of the reason I chose Kiwi dollar specifically is actually the new top setups eco scanning feature on the EdgeFinder. What this does is it takes the top setups but strips out everything except for growth, inflation, and labor statistics for the relative economies. You can see that the Kiwi dollar is the most bullish here in terms of their eco score, a +6. It's pretty strong. And so when we actually take a look at the NZD heat map, New Zealand economic data is looking pretty solid. And so overall, NZD is getting a pretty solid score on the EdgeFinder as well, which marries up nicely with the chart where we hit this key level support. And I actually executed a buy position. We'll see if this one can continue. I do think that we have potential to at least make a push back up to this area here of resistance, at which case maybe I'll look to scale out of the position. Taking a look at the euro, I'm still also long this one, betting on some downside for the US dollar. We'll see if I get that right or not, but I do think the euro has potential to continue sitting at support. I think buyers, could watch this area, maybe also this area at 1.06, and sellers I think are pretty active up here around this previous high. Pound US dollar also sitting at support. I have a lot of dollar trades open right now, so probably not going to add pound to the mix, but something to make note of is that it's sitting at support. There's another key support here just below at the 1.2775. Dollar yen seeing a little bit of weakness, actually rejecting resistance here currently. You can see this level of past support became resistance and seems to be holding here as well. If yen does get strong, we could very easily see a move back down to 147. Dollar Swiss here coming into resistance. We'll see if this continues to push lower, but again, across most of the currency pairs that I'm watching here, the dollar does seem a little bit weak. The Australian dollar and the Kiwi dollar look especially interesting to me against the US at this time. And just a reminder that EdgeFinder sale will be available for the remainder of April, but don't miss the opportunity. I just wanted to double back and make sure that if you have not explored the EdgeFinder, this is the biggest discount that we do all year long. So if you need information, all the information to explore the tool and its full list of features can be found in the description down below. Stocks are all over the place. Indices wobbly at best as we sit here at the lows. You had a nice bounce back yesterday. Yesterday, I bought a stock that I haven't bought in so long. You ready for it? Anybody have a guess? What stock did I buy yesterday? What stock? Starts with an M. Starts with an M. It's Meta. I bought Meta stock yesterday. One of my favorite long-term companies is Meta. Why? Meta is really cool for a main reason, which is Meta, of all of the companies out there, I can't think of a company that is better leveraging AI today. Not in the future. Tesla, for example, is a speculative idea. Their idea is like, in the future, they're going to seriously leverage AI. Are they using it today? Sure. But to me, Meta is massively using AI right now. Have you ever noticed when you go on Facebook or Instagram or these social media sites, how smart they are at keeping you on the platform? They're watching everything you do, and that is AI, right? AI, they are implementing a ton of artificial intelligence into making their platforms more sticky, keeping all of us glued to our screen so they can sell more advertising. Look, Instagram, Facebook, all the doom scrolling that we all do, right? That's AI being leveraged today to make money, right? So Meta is a company I love. And at the discount that we're getting, right? Yesterday, I bought it at about a 23% discount off of the all-time highs. So I'm slightly in profit on my position, but this is a longer term position trade for me. And just a stock that I've owned off and on for years. I actually bought it. You want to hear a big oof from me? I bought Meta down here. I'm not even kidding. I think I might have got it at like $89 a share. It was like right down at the lows. Like I bought this thing. I think I bought some and then I bought more after this big tank. I bought like the low on Meta. Back then it was Facebook. And then you know what I did? I sold out of it. I can't remember when I sold it, but it was way too early. And then it proceeded to, from the lows, you ready for this? This stock 7x'd. That's crazy, right? So I sold way too soon on the stock on this stock in the past, but it's a company that I love, and making a bet on the Zuck, if you will. I hope that video was helpful to you, and I also wanted to make sure to share our Telegram channel with you. Every day we are posting up chart markups and analysis and in-depth breakdowns of what's going on both fundamentally and technically in the markets. We also drop bonus videos in the Telegram channel, so don't miss out. Come join our Telegram channel. The link is in the description down below. Have a great rest of your day.